Third of our candidates and current governor of the Commonwealth, Deval Patrick.
Funding for affordable housing, and how will you target those resources from housing developments that also advance a comprehensive community building vision? Thank you.
Marcia, thank you for the question, and thank you everybody for giving me the answer. I'm going to vote the way you're going to vote. I'm going to vote no on question 2. I'm going to go a step forward. I'm going to ask everybody I see and meet to vote no on question 2. I think 40B is an important tool. It doesn't mean that it can't be adjusted, it can't be reformed. Indeed, Tina Brooks and her team have done a lot to try to tighten it up and make it stronger, but I think it's an indispensable tool. In terms of our support for affordable housing, I can mention a few of the things we have done. We doubled the support for the Affordable Housing Trust Fund to $40 million. We passed the largest housing bond bill ever at $1.2 billion. We made a 50% increase in our investment in state-owned public housing. We've invested over $247 million in soft debt subsidies and tax credits to CDC projects. 60% of our money went to CDC housing projects. We've enacted the housing preservation law that was stuck for a long time, I think, up on Beacon Hill. We worked with you on two foreclosure bills and have provided some funding to some of you to help with counseling around foreclosure. We funded the loan loss reserve for the $20 million neighborhood stabilization loan fund, and we advocated on your behalf for the $4 million in sustainable communities planning grants, which were just awarded by HUD. Have I left anything out? And I think most importantly, we've had a very rich dialogue with MACDC and with several individual CDCs on what our agenda ought to be and how we can work in partnership, and that's something we want to keep going. Thank you, Governor. You or I would have liked, but at a time when the bottom was falling out of just about everything in the state budget, I think being able to do what we have done is pretty great. I think that you can see the times we're in, that having, 40% reduction still gets applause. It's amazing. You and I know there's more we have to do. The two biggest issues I hear from small businesses are about access to capital and also about the cost of health care for those small businesses. In terms of access to capital, we moved by... The other thing in terms of the needs of small business is, as I say, the cost of health care, which has been going up at double digits year after year after year, faster than the rate of increase for big businesses and for government. So we have done a couple things. We capped rates this fall, base rates, and negotiated with the insurance companies to try to smooth out those increases, make them a little less shocking, frankly. We repealed an old law that prevented small business from aggregating and buying in cooperatives so they could get the buying power that big businesses have. So now you can do that. And those rules are being developed right now. They should be in place before the end of this year. Rate shock is another thing that small businesses experience, which means if somebody makes a milestone birthday, a 40, a 50, a 60 birthday in the workforce, one person. And there's in the law now permission for insurance companies to really multiply the rate of increase because of that milestone. So now the insurance commissioner has authority to smooth out that rate shock. That should help. I guess the last thing I would say is that, particularly with respect to immigrant businesses and immigrants generally, we got to have leadership that is about turning to each other and not on each other. And that's not a program. That's leadership. Supported the MACDC with modest grants, what we could do in these times, including with a grant for the Mel King Institute, a founding grant for the Mel King Institute, And we'll continue to do what we can in that respect. We appreciate your value and your contribution to community building. In fact, you're essential role in community building. And unless we build communities, everything else we're talking about is up for grabs. Everything else we're talking about. And I mean that sense of community, that we have a stake in each other. I think the codification of CDCs in the law I signed in August, the Economic Development Bill, is important. Tina and her team are working on the rules for becoming certified. I think you'll be ready by the beginning of the year, is that right? Beginning of January. So you better be sure we're here so that you understand my point. To make sure that the implementation of that is in the same spirit of partnership that we have had. So those are a couple things. I mean, I guess the point is, I hope you've seen that for me as governor, from Tina and her team at DHCD and others on our team, we are not about providing everybody, the right answer to everything. We're about working with you to have you tell us what the right answer is and sorting that out. We're not always going to be able to say yes, but we make a point of trying to say yes wherever we can because we value your work.
Okay, and we'd like to give you 3 more minutes to tell us anything else about your candidacy that you want us to know.
Well, thank you. I want to say, first of all, as I have in response to a couple of the questions, thank you again for the questions, everybody, that we value your partnership, our partnership. We value the working relationship that we have had for the last 4 years, and I think we've shown you that. It's not just empty rhetoric, it's a whole host of initiatives, of funding resources, of arguments and engagement that has shown you an open door, an appreciation and respect for what you do, and the necessity of what you do and do well to enable us to lift the whole Commonwealth up at a whole host of ways and levels. I value that partnership, and I hope you do. And as I say, we've shown it, now I need you to show it. I'm going to come right to it. This is an important election. But it's not my job I'm fighting for, it's yours. It's ours as a Commonwealth. I read I don't know if you've ever had this experience of having something on your mind and on your heart, and you have a conversation with somebody, or you read something and it sort of gives it shape for you. And for me, I had this experience a few months ago when I came across a New York Times article that was comparing the greatest generation to my generation, the baby boom generation. And a columnist described the greatest generation the way we've all heard the greatest generation described. The generation that fought and won the Second World War and then rebuilt Europe, that then came home and built great public institutions, great public universities, the federal highway system, the social safety net we're so worried about today, really launched the modern civil rights movement. And then the columnist described my generation, the baby boom generation, as the grasshopper generation. Because, as he said, we've been feeding off of that all our lives. And he's right. It has worried me for the longest time, this idea of generational responsibility and the reluctance of my generation to step up and take our responsibility to leave things better than we found it. To make the investments of time and money and coaching and personal engagement with young people. That's what you're about. That's what our administration has been about at its best. And if we're going to finish the work we started, to make this an institution and a habit of our government, we're going to need another 4 years to do it. And that means we need your help. And I hope you don't mind my being right out there with this. We need you to make it personal, to talk to your friends, your neighbors, your colleagues, your family members. Above all, talk to folks who don't already agree with us. Engage. Model the kind of politics that says we don't have to agree on everything before we work together on anything. Help us on election day by getting out to the polls. Bring yourself, bring everybody you know. If we do that, I'm confident we will win. We will, all of us, deserve to win. And then we can finish the work that we started. Thank you very much for having me.
Governor Patrick.